Good morning. We are here for an exciting announcement. Fair trials are the bedrock of the criminal legal system. Without them, proper convictions may be overturned, innocent people can be convicted, and people who actually commit crimes remain free to harm others in the community. And without fair trials, victims and their families are left without true justice. Like all human systems, our criminal legal system is fallible. We know that the system occasionally breaks down, people make mistakes, and individuals are convicted of crimes they did not commit or suffer from other miscarriages of justice. We have a very recent example here in Hennepin County in Marvin Haynes. He spent nearly 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. He was exonerated this past December with the full agreement of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. When there's an issue like this, a serious issue like this, it is our responsibility, or it is the responsibility of conscientious prosecutors like those who work in this office to take steps to remedy those errors. The prosecutors who work in this office provide a vital public service. They work hard every day to ensure that those who commit acts of violence and harm members of our community face accountability for their actions. No prosecutor in this office wants to see someone convicted for a crime they did not commit. That's why I'm proud today to announce the creation of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office First Conviction Integrity Unit. When I decided to run for office, this was a crucial part of my plan, and I am honored today to make that happen. The basic function of the Conviction Integrity Unit is to investigate past convictions where there is a credible basis to suspect that a wrongful conviction or some other serious injustice may have occurred. Forming our own unit also lets us work directly with victims and their families to guide them transparently and compassionately through this process. I'm excited to share that Andrew Marquardt, who is the managing attorney at the Great North Innocence Project, will head this new unit. At the Innocence Project, he investigated cases of wrongful convictions and represented individuals in state and federal court after they were convicted. Andrew represented Marvin Haynes. He led the Innocence Clinic at the University of Minnesota Law School and has taught there and at other law schools about wrongful convictions and death penalty law. Please join me in welcoming Andrew.
Thank you, Mary. I'm Andrew Marquardt. I am honored to be tasked with leading the newly created Conviction Integrity Unit out of the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. And I want to thank Mary Moriarty for making good on her commitment to launch this important unit and for allowing me the opportunity to participate in these efforts to advance the cause of justice in Hennepin County. Now, our system affords prosecutors with a tremendous amount of power over individuals' lives and a great deal of discretion over how to wield that power. With this unit, it presents an opportunity to direct that power toward remedying injustices in ways that simply aren't feasible from outside the government. And you know, oftentimes when we're talking about traditional adversarial post-conviction litigation, it's so much about technical legal issues, procedural fights. What we can do with this unit is we can really cut through all that and really focus in on the merits of the case, on the facts. Do the facts actually support the conviction that this person is being incarcerated for? Do they actually support the sentence that was laid down or not? And that's what we're going to do. So the purpose of these investigations we're going to do is twofold. Obviously, we want to provide relief for individuals who've been the subject of injustice. You know, if someone is sitting in prison for a crime they didn't commit, that is an intolerable offense against that individual, against that individual's family, against that individual's community. And the ripple effects of wrongful convictions go much beyond the particular defendant. So when we find those injustices, we have an obligation to remedy them, and we will remedy them. But we also want to not just be backward-looking, but also be forward-looking, and to learn from past mistakes and find ways to improve our system going forward and to prevent future injustices. Now, the point of these investigations is not to cast blame on particular individuals who are involved in these cases, whether those people be police, prosecutors, or frankly defense attorneys, who often can bear more than their fair share of the blame as well. Now, obviously, if we uncover misconducts or malfeasance in the course of our investigations, those things will be addressed in the proper course. But it's really not the purpose of what we're doing. You know, cases can go wrong for many, many reasons. You may have new evidence that's discovered years later that casts the case in an entirely different light. You may have forensic methods or scientific techniques that were believed to be reliable at one point in time, and science marches forward, and all of a sudden they're not quite as reliable as they once thought they were. Cases that had problems that may have seemed minimal at the time, with the benefit of hindsight, those problems may be much more material than were realized at the time. So there's all kinds of reasons cases go wrong, and we will be looking at the full gamut of issues. Now, I also want to be clear that the standard for obtaining relief through this unit is going to be high by necessity. Okay? It is no small matter to overturn a conviction after someone's been found guilty by a jury of their peers. It's a big deal, okay? And I can assure you that is not something I take lightly. It is not something that any of us takes lightly. So if we conclude that we need to seek to vacate someone's conviction, that's going to be after a robust process, a thorough investigation, and where we have a really highly compelling basis to do so. And where we do satisfy those requirements, we will not hesitate to act, but only after that robust process. Now, fortunately, we're not sailing into uncharted waters here. We benefit from the experiences of many other units similar to this around the country who've been doing this kind of work in recent years, and that includes the Conviction Review Unit of our own Attorney General's office, which is doing really essential work in counties all around the state, and which I'm confident is going to continue to do that important work, especially now that we're setting up this unit in our biggest county with the most convictions. That allows more bandwidth for that unit to focus on other parts of the state. Now, as we're getting started, we're going to be looking at all these existing units. We were already doing that, trying to develop best practices and put together a really first-rate conviction integrity unit that can be a point of pride for residents of Hennepin County. So I'm really delighted to be here. I'm excited to get started with this important work and working to promote justice here in Hennepin County. So with that, I will introduce my colleague, Claire Deal.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning. I'm Claire Deagle, and I head the Hennepin County Attorney's Office's Division of Professional Standards, and that division will house this unit. We've spent the past year since Mary Moriarty created the Division of Professional Standards. The goal of the division is to do what we can as prosecutors to make the criminal legal system work better for everyone. That includes victims, that includes defendants. The division seeks to improve our system by, among other things, instituting criminal law reforms like prosecutor-initiated sentence adjustment, reforming the office's Brady-Giglio practices to guard against wrongful convictions and ensure fair trials, and establishing a centralized training unit. The Conviction Integrity Unit is an important addition to the division's work. There are not many attorneys in Minnesota who have the specific experience Andrew does of running a team to investigate claims of wrongful convictions and then seek relief in court. For that reason, we are so fortunate to have him leading the CIU. Our goal is to get this unit up and running and accept applications for case review as soon as possible. We will be hiring a second attorney, an investigator, and a paralegal to form the unit. As soon as we are ready to review cases, we will post applications on our website, hennepinattorney.org. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Marvin Haynes.
Hi, you guys. My name is Marvin Haynes. I was in this room for a press conference like a little under 7 months ago on December 11, 2023. That was just a couple hours after I had been exonerated and released from prison after spending almost 20 years in prison for a crime I did not commit. I was in this room because the Hennepin County Attorney Office did big things that allowed me to finally get justice. First, because my case was so old at that point, the statute of limitations and other procedure rules that made it really hard for me to get back into court. This office realized it would be unfair to keep me out of court for reasons that have nothing to do with my innocence. So they waived the issue. Second, I had a chance to present my evidence in court. This office realized that the evidence showed I was innocent. Mary Minority agreed that I should be exonerated, and I remember I got the news from my lawyer on my birthday last year. I had a few days later, I was walking out of prison. It was so much incredible feeling. I feel the same way being here. Even though the conviction interrogation unit wasn't around yet, my case already showed that the whole thing showed what it was all about. It's a chance for the prosecutor office to take another look at cases like mine, where the system get wrong, and to make things right. Because my case is not unique, there are more Marvin Hainses out there. It's kind of crazy looking back, but when I went to prison at 17, I didn't know anything about wrongful convictions. As far as my concern, I might as well have been the first person wrongly convicted. But the more I spent in prison, the more I realized how bad our system go wrong and that other people had experienced the same injustice. Now that I'm out, I want to do what I can for those who fighting for justice. That's why I was at the legislature this spring testifying in support of my bill to make it easy for people to get back into court with new evidence. That's also why I am happy to be here today supporting this efforts in the CRU. If something like this existed years ago, maybe I would have gotten justice sooner. But I'm glad it exists now because I know it's going to be helpful to so many other people that's wrongly convicted. But I just want to say some other words too. Like, I appreciate this unit being started. It's going to help so many different individuals that's incarcerated that I was personally in jail with, so that was actually innocent, that ain't got justice due to the statute of limitations. So I'm just glad that Mary and her unit is creating this because it's going to help so many people. And then Andrew is going to be running it. So it's going to be a major deal. And I just appreciate everybody for supporting me. And please, let's support the other people that's wrongly convicted because they need justice.
I wanted to say that the bill Marvin testified about did pass. And Marvin is amazing. And Marvin is an integral part of our community. And he would not have had that opportunity, nor would the community have had that opportunity, but for looking at his conviction to see what had gone wrong. So I'll open it up to any questions. Yes?
First, I just wanted to ask, Marvin just mentioned if a unit like this had existed years ago, this might not have happened. Can you just speak to what it says about the office that sort of now it's in a place where you are introducing a unit like this? Does that speak to like broader social changes as well? What do you think about that?
I think it speaks to the recognition that we make mistakes. And Andrew talked about that. Prosecutors make mistakes, law enforcement makes mistakes, and so do public defenders. And I think we have to have the humility to recognize that the things that we might have done many, many years ago, while they looked like the right thing to do at the time, are not now, and that we need to correct those. And so I think it's really important for us to have that insight and be open to the idea that mistakes were made, but we shouldn't continue to go on, even though we know that that's happened, when we know that there are people languishing in prison and that their families are also paying for that outside prison.
Can you just say a little bit more about how this office will work in coordination, if at all, with the CRU at the AG's office?
Yeah, so the CRU, most of the cases in Minnesota come from Hennepin County. And so we work with them right now. We will continue to work with them. We've worked with them on learning what their process is. That cooperation will continue. But as Andrew said, it will allow the conviction review, the Attorney General's team, to look at cases throughout Minnesota while we focus on cases that are in Hennepin County. We have direct access to our files, and so we believe we can make this process quicker, although it's never going to be quick. But because we're only reviewing our cases and we have access to everything that we need, we should be much more efficient. And that does free up the AG's office to look at the cases from the rest of Minnesota.
I got a question for Andrew. Everybody's cases is not like Marvin's. A lot of people's cases are based on, testimony from other felons. How do you approach that? Because Marvin was based on eyewitness testimony with the lineup or whatever the case may be. A lot of people's cases are not like Marvin's.
I know what this
So
is.
the question is, if people just like get on the stand and testify and say that he did this, he did that, what is your approach for the CIR unit to go about that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, because I know what you're talking about here. So you're talking about informants. Yes. So historically, one thing the office has done is at times rely on people already in the system who have something to lose or something to gain by giving information about somebody else. We do not do that. We don't use informants anymore at the office because we understand when you put a person in a situation where you're offering them money or you're offering a substantial cut on their sentence to cooperate with us, that creates a very huge incentive for that person to testify in a way that actually isn't consistent with what happened. And so we don't do that anymore. I do think your point about the fact that the office did do that in the past is an important issue for us to look at. What the Conviction Integrity Unit does do is to look at the entire file. And this is an important distinction here. Our courts of appeals and our Minnesota Supreme Court, when they review a case, are only reviewing the paper or the transcript from the trial. There's much more information in there. There's much more information in the file. And so sometimes our appellate courts will affirm a conviction and they just don't have the access to all the information that's in the file, which we will have. So yes, we will go back and we will look at everything in the file to see if there's something in there that meant that this person did not receive a fair trial or that they're innocent. And I should also say, we will be looking at cases where a person did not receive a fair trial. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're innocent, but that means that they did not get a fair trial and perhaps we need to retry it. So we will be looking at all of those issues. Thank you for that question. Any other questions?
Morgan, I'd love to know what you've been up to since December, how life has changed for you.
Man, life has been so beautiful. I've been just growing every day. I'm working. That's the majority of my time go to work, honestly. I got to pay my bills. So, I mean, but in my free time, I go do a lot of different things. Yesterday, I just went, I was actually on the lake. I have fun. So I just been doing new things every day, every weekend and stuff, trying as often as I can. But I be working majority of my time. But like I said, I just been enjoying my life and just making up for the 20 years that I was incarcerated. So, yeah.
A lot of family time?
Yeah, it is a lot of family time. I mean, unfortunately, my mom is going through a situation, and that's kind of like one of the hardest things that I got to experience, and knowing that it reminds me every day of what I've been through, because my mom can't speak. So that's hard, not having that support or having that guidance from your mother. You know, I was just crazy because I moved into my own place. And it's crazy because my mom can't even come help me decorate it, you know what I'm saying, or even see what it looked like because her conditions. But I'm just blessed to be able to be with her and talk to her. But it's a hard experience knowing that. But for the most part, I'm happy to be free.
And having your own place is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Just everything, all my accomplishments. It's just been amazing to know that I was just in a cell. Now that I got my own place. I got everything going for myself. So it's amazing. And hopefully this unit will help other people's, get their life back, because it's hard in that place. So yeah.
I did want to follow up on what Marvin said. What we intend to do also is learn from our mistakes of the past. Obviously, Marvin was released, but he doesn't get his 19 years back. He doesn't get that 19 years with his mom or his sister, his family. The community doesn't get that time back with him. And so it's important to look back, but it's also important to learn from the mistakes of the past. And that is one of the things we intend to do. Like, how did we get to this place where a wrongful conviction happened? And what can we do in the office to try to ensure that it doesn't happen again? Any other? Yes.
Kind of how it works with the new unit, looking at cases going forward or looking at cases going back
Cases going back. Is that, so,
in the past, whatever, 2,
Yes.
3, 5 years? Just
Well-
kind of how does it play out? How does it work?
yeah, so I think Claire mentioned we're in the process of building out that process. We will have an application. We'll make that available to those who are incarcerated right now. And we will be looking at cases going, if somebody's in prison, we'll be open to looking at that case.
Do you
Yes.
have a ballpark of the amount of people that could be in prison, like with unlawful convictions, or do you have some number that you think you might be able to reach? Like,
In terms of reach, as I said, we want to make the process available to everyone. That doesn't mean that everyone in prison has been wrongfully convicted. And so we want the process to be available. I don't think we have a good sense of how many people might be there who were wrongfully convicted and innocent. I have a feeling we'll probably see more cases where we can't conclude that a person is innocent, but we can conclude that there were some pretty serious violations that might necessitate a new trial. So we're open-minded about what we're going to see, but we're going to make it very accessible to anybody who wants to apply.
I have one more question. Pepe McKenzie, he did 30 years, well, back when he got sentenced, it was life, which was 30 years. He completed his 30-year sentence. He's still incarcerated to this day in Stillwater. Will he be allowed to apply for this program, or is that solely on the commissioner to give him relief?
Oh, so on conviction integrity, anybody who is in prison can apply. This isn't a program dependent on the commissioner. It's also, and I know this gets confusing, the legislature last session before last, gave us prosecutor-initiated sentencing adjustment. That's very different. So conviction integrity is really about those who are in prison who want to apply to our office to have their conviction looked at. And then that's the work that Andrew and the rest of the team will be doing.
Are there going to be priorities based on actual claims of innocent? And then, like, Tony, my partner, said that Pepe McKenzie's case, he served all of his time. And then we have another guy who did 51 years, and he's still sitting in prison, but he served all of his time. And so those folks in particular who have served their time, but the DOC don't want to let them out, they will be eligible to apply for this interrogation unit?
So
Or
any
is it based off of integrity unit?
integrity,
Or is it solely based off of
yeah.
procedural stuff?
If somebody is in prison and they are saying that they were wrongfully convicted, they can apply to our office. And then in terms of priorities, I think that's going to
So
be,
they're not wrongfully incarcerated. You spoke on folks who may not be wrongfully incarcerated, but they had other things in their case. Is that correct? Or do a person have to have an actual claim of innocence? That's kind of.
well, when they apply, they should have an actual claim of innocence. What we will look at is what kind of trial they received and whether there is indication that they were innocent. That's why I said there will be some people who perhaps did not have a fair trial, but they are also innocent. those are the kinds of cases where people would get relief because they've been wrongfully incarcerated and they are innocent. Relief meaning we will petition the court. Other people may have, let's say they got ineffective assistance of counsel. Their defense lawyer just didn't do a great job. Simply having a lawyer who doesn't do a great job does not mean that you are innocent, okay? So there may be some cases where your lawyer didn't do a great job, but we can't say that the person is innocent. So we will look at whether there should be some other remedy there. Yep.
How much does it cost to run this unit?
Well, so we, in the last budget cycle, made a request of the county board to staff to get our unit up and running. We will be making an additional request on that. I would say we're not going to be fully staffed. Part of it depends on the volume that we get, but we'll see as we go, and we'll talk to the commissioners about additional resources that we may need. Thank you.